One thing that was very surprising about the 2024 VP debate between JD Vance and Tim Walz was how civil it was. And I mean that. It actually was surprising. So both candidates were obviously aggressive in terms of promoting their policy agenda that they want to implement, and both were aggressive in terms of attacking the presidential candidate from the other side. But they weren't really super aggressive with each other. The reason I'm kind of surprised by that is we had sort of seen that there was a little more willingness to be aggressive before the debate. If you remember back in August, Tim Walz, in his first rally with Harris, referenced the JD Vance couch meme, saying, "I'd love to debate him if he's willing to get off his couch and show up." You know what that's in reference to. I'm not really going to go into it. But yeah, he was taking the gloves off pretty hardcore. And especially because the couch thing it's totally false. I mean, let's be real. As funny as it may be to some people, it's false. So that was the vice presidential candidate referencing a false meme about the other vice presidential candidate. And as some people said, it's kind of like the whole thing. It's the opposite of when they go low, we go high. He's saying, no, I'm going to fight back. But JD Vance was really not super aggressive against Tim Walz himself in the debate. And similarly with Tim Walz, they each thanked each other in their opening statements, their first questions that they got. One moment that I thought was good in terms of both candidates being civil was Tim Walz talking about the need for gun control, and he pointed out that his 17-year-old had personally witnessed a school shooting. And JD Vance's response when he was given his time to speak immediately was to say, "Oh, Tim, I did not know that your 17-year-old had seen a school shooting, and I'm really sorry to hear that," and said that he was praying for him. And Tim Walz said thank you and that he really appreciated that to Vance. So this is the type of thing that is virtually unimaginable in a debate between Donald Trump and anyone, let alone a Democratic opponent. I mean, he's super aggressive even against his Republican opponents. But yeah, so they shook hands at the end of the debate too. They didn't just retreat into the other side of the stage. Their wives came up. They shook hands with each other's wives. They kind of stood around for a little bit, like pretty friendly it seemed. At one point Tim Walz had a moment of humility of saying, look, and he is a humble guy, I would say, he's self-deprecating. He said, yeah, I definitely make misspeaks, and JD Vance kind of chimed in and said, oh yeah, me too, man. So just, the fact that he said man, it's like, these guys are just being jovial with each other. So it really, it's definitely different from watching a Donald Trump Joe Biden debate or a Donald Trump Kamala Harris debate, where there's mostly just acid spewing off of each other's tongues, mostly from Trump's side. But Biden was not afraid to get aggressive and call Trump the worst president ever, and saying he has the morals of an alley cat. But yeah, so this was like kind of a reminder, I think, of what politics was like before 2016, before the 2000s, maybe even, because people forget that the 2000s actually was when a lot of divisiveness really started, even if it wasn't as bad as the Trump era. But yeah, so I give credit to both JD Vance and Tim Walz for being civil, for not using too much personal attacks against each other, for focusing primarily on policy. It was a pleasant surprise. And even though I have a candidate that I would agree more on some issues than others, I think both of them represented Americans fairly well. I think that other countries would probably see that debate and not be immediately turned off by the style of the candidates, although they would probably disagree with some of the substance of what JD Vance says, for example, on healthcare. A lot of other countries have universal healthcare systems, but that's a topic for another day. But yeah, they did a good job, both of them. I think neither candidate did poorly overall. And yeah, it's a total shift from the Trump-Harris debate where I think Harris won quite easily, or the Trump-Biden debate where I think that Trump won quite easily because he was just speaking better and he was more sharp and with it. But yeah, so kudos to both candidates. Let me know if you agree in the comments. Do you think that it was not civil? Do you think that it should have been uncivil? Would you have liked to see them really throw some fists and call each other names? At the end of the day, it's a VP debate. The stakes aren't usually super high, although this may end up being the last debate of the presidential election, so it could be important for that reason. But yeah, let me know who you think won as well. Do you think that Vance won? Do you think that Walz won? Do you think that one of them won on style while the other won on substance? That's always a really interesting dichotomy, the style-substance dichotomy. But yeah, leave a like, comment, or subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed this video and my breakdown. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you in a later video.